A great feeling from Jimmy Lakey. Jimmy Lakey in the morning makes me feel alive. Woke me up this morning, now I'm up and on my way. Oh, 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 yeah, what a great way to start your day, the Lakey way.
Well, fantastic to have you all there this morning. Thank you for the choir, the introduction. I appreciate you singing my name. Anybody wants to sing my name? Just record it in your phone and send it right over, and I will play it, and I will relish in the beauty of hearing that. So anyway, glad to have you here on the program. It's Lakey Unleashed from the confines of corporate radio. And after years and years of working for the man, here we are working for ourselves, working independently and making history here together, making something together. It's Lakey Unleashed from the confines of corporate radio. Glad to have you here. A lot of news to get to if you're new to the program. My name is Jimmy Jaime Lagos, some people call me. Don't worry, the name does not scare ICE. They know I am a bona fide card-carrying, natural-born citizen, so I do not have to be worried about going by the name Jaime Lagos. Is not a problem. Tom Holman and I are like this. We're really, really tight. The showdown in Texas continues. We're going to dive that into there. By the way, if everybody's checking in already, that's kind of a routine, a standard of the show. You got to say good morning to us. Wherever you're watching the program, if you're watching the live feed, which right now it is 4 minutes after 8 o'clock on the Mountain Time Zone, 4 minutes after 10 o'clock East Coast, you get the idea. If you're watching at times this morning, everybody check in, let us know where you're at. Florida, we're still looking for our Florida crew out there. I think we had somebody check in from Florida a couple of days ago, but Florida, you need to do better out there. So wherever you're at, under the sound of my dulcet tones and looking at this glorious face that you get to see here on the streamcast, let us know where you're from. We see Arloa checked in from Texas. We saw the check-ins from Arkansas. Missouri is always well represented. Not sure what it is about Missouri, but evidently they love some Lakey out there in Missouri. They seem to like that. Arloa did want to compliment already the blue shirt. If you're new to the program, we have an ongoing saga is that I have the most fantastic blue shirts ever, except sometimes cocky people in the audience want to refute whether or not it is whether it's not a blue shirt. This is a blue shirt. Thank you. Shyla checks in from Palisade, Colorado, home of the Palisade Peaches. It's peach time. Morning from Oregon. There you have it. Ray's up there watching on the YouTube. So anyway, wherever you're at this morning, let us know. We always appreciate it. And if you're listening later on the podcast version of the show, you can always send us an email and say, sorry, I missed the live check-ins, but I'm listening from wherever. And that podcast is found on all the podcast platforms. And just send the emails to info@jimmylakey.com. info@jimmylakey.com. All right, we got a lot of listeners and viewers in Texas, both in real time and later in the day. All my fellow Texans down there in the motherland, what's the atmosphere like when it comes to the Texas showdown? The Democrats decided to abandon ship, abandon post, abandon their office. They're afraid that they will be defeated at a vote at the Texas State Legislature. And that is a vote that's going to redistrict midterm or mid-decade, do some redistricting. Texas Constitution allows for that to happen. It's a constitutional exercise. Whether or not you agree that that's your prerogative, but it is a constitutional exercise. Somebody asked me yesterday, they said, Jimmy, what would keep other states from doing the same thing? I said, the confines of their state constitution. I mean, how often and how you gerrymander or redistrict. I know Colorado several years ago tried to redistrict about mid-decade, and it got shot down in court. It wasn't constitutional. I don't remember the whole thing, but I remember there was talk of some redistricting. So it would give give Texas about 5 new congressional seats. Now you have Gavin Newsom, and you have the governor also of New York saying, if you guys do this, you're a threat to democracy. Anybody get tired of hearing the Democrats say threat to democracy? Could you guys come up with a different phrase? I mean, run it through AI. See if you can come up with something better than racist, bigot, homophobe, sexist, misogynistic, threat to democracy. It's the same old thing. It's been going on for decades. So work on that. But Texas is going to do it, and California and New York are threatening retaliation that they might would do the same thing. Now, I don't know the laws of the state of California. I don't know the laws of the state of New York. I'm not even sure it's constitutional, those places. But what's interesting is these Democrats that from Texas fled to two places. Predominantly, they went to Chicago. They flew a private plane, private jet. These are the people that really want to limit the carbon footprint. But they were too good to hop on an American Airlines or a United Airlines jet out of DFW or Austin. They were too good for that. They had some big fat donor gave them a private jet that estimated it cost about $15,000 an hour to operate. And they flew to Chicago. Well, what's amazing about going to Chicago is that there's ever a place that's gerrymandered and kind of made and jerry-rigged, and it's Illinois and Chicago. Just look at the congressional maps for the state of Chicago, and you will see basically they look at an interstate and go, well, let's just follow the interstate one block down each side of it until we get to another population center, and we will connect those population centers and say that they're people of like cause, and they're not. So anyway, the Texas Showdown continues. There's still a threat there in Texas that Greg Abbott says that they have the right, and the attorney general, if he wants to, if they believe that a lawmaker has abandoned their post and is derelict in their duty, then they can be vacated, removed from office, and the governor would appoint a replacement. So I think that's going to be fantastic if Ken Paxton, the attorney general, decides that that's the way to go to Texas and remove all these people from office and put somebody else in there and tell them they can run for election some other time, but they're done as a representative of the state, of the people of the state of Texas. So anyway, all you Texas folks out there, is this top news? What are we missing? You are my reporters on the street, and I would love to hear from each of you telling us what the atmosphere is like. There is a talk that one of the areas that could be affected if they redistrict this in the state of Texas is that Jasmine Crockett could be a bum without a home. She could all of a sudden have her district redrawn, and then Jasmine would be looking for a platform. Maybe they'll hire her on The View or some other failing television show. But Jasmine could be out of a job. You never, ever, ever know. Anyway, give us your thoughts on the state of Texas. And if you're watching from outside the state of Texas, when you hear that California and you hear that New York are now threatening they're going to redistrict, does that bring any fear and trepidation, or does it not? I'm not that bothered by it, but give me your thoughts. Again, I don't know the constitutional laws of the Texas Constitution or the California Constitution. We have a question of the day I want to show you, and it's a fun one. This is a very fun one. Yesterday we did pinup. Who was your favorite pinup? Your poster child? The poster child. The poster in your bedroom. Who was it that you admired? Who was your heartthrob as a teenager? And that was because of Lonnie Anderson's passing, and it kind of brings to pass some of those great iconic blonde figures. Suzanne Summers was one of those. Farrah Fawcett, people mentioned Bo Derek yesterday. Brooke Shields was one of those. But who were the people that you really you hung up on the wall? A lot of those names were before my time. So yesterday I said mine was probably the first time I kind of noticed I should have a poster of her on the wall was Daisy Duke, Catherine Bach at the time. That legendary photo. She's holding the daisies, but she's also wearing what she wore on the show, and that was very good. And my dad talked my mother into letting me have the poster. She was very much opposed, but she did not want to have to see it when she walked down the hallway past my bedroom, so it had to be like behind a door. So that was my Daisy Duke poster or Catherine Bach poster. This morning, we're going to go a different way. Yesterday, we were talking about those faces and those names that we enshrined in our bedrooms, and we had always tried to, if you're at the grocery store, you always tried to get the tiger beat or the whatever. Somebody mentioned Fabian, who is a singer. We learned different than Fabio. He was a singer in the 50s. So everybody had several generations. Everybody had their own people that they esteemed and wanted the posters of and the photos, and they wanted to see on late night television, etc. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you've all heard of Mount Rushmore, have you not? You ready? I'd like to ask you, if this were a new proposed monument, what would you call it? Can you name this this new landmark? At first, I wanted to say keep it clean, but our question of the day, it's just a question. I don't judge whether you have an appropriate answer or not. So, ladies and gentlemen, what is this new landmark If Mount Rushmore is in the great state of South Dakota, and it has some of the great presidents of the United States, and maybe one day going to have Donald John Trump just to tick off the American left, what would you name this landmark? There it is, Nancy Pelosi, Kamala. There's old Hillary Rodham Kankles Clinton. If they're going to shrine her in a mountain, I want to see the Kankles. Oh, there's Pocahontas up there. What would you name this? Great mountain or this new landmark? That is our question of the day. Feel free to let us know. What would you name that landmark, and how would you I won't even ask if you'll go see it. We're just going to get the naming rights going on. Ray went exactly where I went when I was talking about this. Oh, Lord Jesus, Linda just took off the gloves here. Ray says Mount Bitchmore. Linda says Mount Skankmore. I knew this was going to get good. Jim says Dumb and the Dumberettes. Wow. Linda just Linda used the S word right out of the chute there. Skanks. That's it. All right, keep it coming. We want to hear name this new landmark, and feel free to tell us your ideas on that. All right. Laura Carno's coming up on the program today, and if there's going to be a great mountain and you're going to have ladies' faces on it, of course, Laura Carno should be on that. And that would be the smart people, the smart conservative women mountain. But anyway, you can name that. I also having some fun along with the the new mountain. I don't want to say Mount Skankmore over and over again, or Ray up in Oregon calling it Bitchmore. I'm not saying they're not true, but I'm just saying I'll let you guys come up with it. So here's what I'd like to do. I'd like to play something else. It's humorous, and yesterday people got a kick out of it, and I think you should understand that we like humor on this show, and we don't take ourselves or anybody else too seriously. So if you did not see our Amy Klobuchar or Barry Hussein Obama videos from yesterday that we stole randomly from TikTok, I want to prepare you. In about 30 to 45 seconds, we are going to play those for you, and you will want to have the coffee cleared out of your mouth and nasal passages because you will spew that. We're going to, by popular demand, play those again in just a moment. Speaking of skanks, if you will, speaking of little, how do I say this nicely? A little biatches on the mountain. Speaking of them, let's talk about Tampon Tim. How about that? Tampon Tim, the governor of Minnesota, has, of course, made a name for himself. He was Kamala's running mate. He also put tampon machines in all the boys' bathrooms in the public schools there. Tampon Tim, jazz hands. He's a very interesting man. He married a woman where they were rioting and burning tires on the streets of Minneapolis and St. Paul. His wife wanted to open the shutters of the governor's mansion so she could smell the burning tires. He's a very interesting man, a very peculiar family. Of course, to fool you from his tampon persona, we had to call him Coach Timmy because he was a volunteer coach on the football team, and evidently he was the man's man. But no, everybody knew that Timmy Waltz was not a man's man. Well, now there's a newly released internal memo confirming that the Department of Homeland Security and the FBI have had long-standing concerns about Tampon Tim and his connections to the Chinese Communist Party. This is from John Solomon's Just the News, and Stephen Richards reporting, especially after he was selected by Kamala Harris as her presidential running mate last year. Homeland Security then turned over the documents to a watchdog group, Judicial Watch, which filed a Freedom of Information Act request and sued the government early this year, seeking communication in an agency group chat that allegedly referenced the probe by Homeland Security into Timmy Waltz. It seems as if Timmy Waltz was such an adulator and adoring fan of the Communist Chinese that he was on the watch list, if you will, or the radar of Homeland Security, and they became very troubled when old communist Kamala Harris decided to pick him as a running mate. Freedom of Information Act was filed by Judicial Watch. They get the documents, and the existing of those messages were then shared with the House Oversight Committee last year by whistleblowers, but the Biden DHS resisted turning over some documents. One Homeland Security employee wrote this in a group chat: "China is happy. One day after Harris announced Waltz as her running mate, the internal Homeland Security memos circulating around a security risk in America said that Timmy Waltz was making China very happy. The employee linked a BBC News article detailing Chinese internet reactions to the choice, which were reported as largely positive by the Communist Chinese. In response, another employee who was a whistleblower, whose name is now redacted, suggested that looping in the FBI due to its responsibility for domestic counterintelligence. So behind the scenes, you had the members of the intelligence department under the Biden administration saying Kamala chose who? She chose Tampon Tim? Wow, China's happy. And there are memos, discussions going, we got to loop the FBI in here because they have the responsibility for domestic counterintelligence, and they're going to want to know about this Tampon Tim guy. Though it's unclear what roles the employees in the group had in the department at the time, the messages obtained by Judicial Watch and the House Oversight Committee show the group constituted a team of investigators primarily concerned with monitoring subnational engagement by Chinese with American officials. So they were actually concerned that Tampon Tim had enough adulation for communist China that then they were concerned, oh my God, we're going to give him access to the president of the United States. We already have a sharp eye on Tampon Tim as possibly at least a lover of the communist Chinese, if not an asset of the communist Chinese. We got to keep him a sharp eye on it. So there's a headline there that I'm sure Kamala and I'm sure CNN and all the people that said, oh, Coach Timmy was going to be the best thing ever. Coach Tim, you got to vote for Coach Tim, right? Coach Tim. You got to play the Coach Timmy video. You got to call him Coach Timmy. Well, I'm going to tell you, the Coach Timmy video of him speaking at the convention and doing his jazz hands and all the stuff that he does. Coach Timmy evidently was worried, intelligence worried that he was a communist agent working for the communist Chinese. So some of you sheeples out there watching this program that say we just make this stuff up about the Democrats and that they're, listen, the Homeland Security actually thought that Tim Waltz might be a threat to democracy. I know that some of you folks out there on the left like saying you Republicans and Donald Trump are a threat to democracy. Actually, Homeland Security was worried that Timmy Waltz had gotten the nomination for and suggested nomination by Kamala Harris because they actually had been watching him, thinking he might have been a threat to democracy. So I'll put the story out there. I think it needs to circulate. People need to know who Timmy Waltz is. And again, pretending that he's a coach and some just a good old boy from Minnesota. He's anything but a good old boy from Minnesota. He's a commie through and through by his own actions. You just have to draw that conclusion. And he's a very sick and twisted man. His wife is a sick and twisted woman wanting to smell the burning rubber of tires burning in Minneapolis when people's livelihoods and their homes were being destroyed by fire and rioters. I'm sorry, that's a sick and twisted family. And turns out all the speculation isn't this just that he was a little jazz-handed jackwagon. No, the real speculation is the guy might have been a communist agent and Homeland Security was watching it, and they had to loop in the FBI, wanted to loop in the FBI when Kamala actually chose him, which makes you wonder, did Kamala do any vetting? Did she think she didn't have to do any vetting? Usually when you're choosing a candidate for vice president, I mean, it is the rectal exam. It's the ear hole. They examine everything. They go back. They want to find out if you're like Mitt Romney. Did you ever tousle a kid's hair in primary school in third grade? Did you ever do anything wrong? Did you ever drink too much alcohol? Did you have a bad reputation? They go back to your fraternity days, your sorority days. And so it seems as if Tampon Timmy, did Kamala not vet him, or did she not care? Was Kamala so numb to the fact that he was under the watchful eye of Homeland Security? Was Kamala just so blinded to that fact that, that's just normal. All my friends are under the watchful eye of Homeland Security, or all of my friends are. Did she not think that his adulation of the communist Chinese was a problem? So that's the most interesting thing. If Homeland Security and Freedom of Information Acts have actually shown documents that he was under investigation, under the watchful eye of Homeland Security, did Kamala Harris not care? Did she not do a background check? Or did Kamala Harris say, well, that won't be a red flag. We all love China. We all love the commie Chinese. So, yeah, maybe she's so stupid And stupid is a word that does come to mind when you think of old cackling Kamala. Was she so stupid that she thought, oh, yeah, he loves China, but, we all do. We're Democrats. They're not going to say anything about that. You just got to get back, and one day when the postmortem and the final books are written about this election cycle and the Obama era and the Clinton era and this Jack Smith era, he's now under investigation. When the real truth is told, I think we're going to find out there was a lot of collusion with each other, but also collusion maybe with foreign governments. But again, let that sink in. Tampon Timmy, the media said you got to love him. He's just a good old boy from Minnesota. Tampon Timmy was under the watchful eye of Homeland Security even before Kamala chose him because of his adulation and connections with the communist Chinese. And some of you then voted for him because you were told to by your lords in the media and the cult that you have joined known as the Democrat Party. All right. Let me play this video. A lot of you liked it yesterday. This is a coffee alert, coffee warning. Clear your nose, clear your mouth. Ladies and gentlemen, this is something we stole off TikTok. I'm going to play 2 of these this morning. And we played this yesterday, but it was such a hit. I had people asking me, could you send that to me? Could you mail that to me? Everybody wanted a copy of it. So ladies and gentlemen, here you go. If you're sensitive, I want to warn you again. There's some very non-delicate language that's used here. There's some very sophomoric humor. There's some very... This is not family friendly. I'm warning you. So if you're a delicate flower, I'm warning you. Turn down the volume now in 3, 2, 1.
Born in America, who went to P. Diddy freak-offs, who hates white people the most, who gives better head, who has STD, who drowned the chef, who hates America, who has a bigger penis.
I'm sorry. I warned you. If you get offended by that and you're now, I can't believe you played that. I warned you to turn down the volume. So there's your coffee alert. All right. I just love that. I just love it. It was by popular demand. A lot of folks wanted to have that sent to them, so we wanted to play it again for you this morning. Let me come back to the question of the day. If you saw this mountain was being built in America, an American landmark, we steal it from the scoop.us on the Instagram. We steal this one. Name the new landmark. If you saw this mountain, it's not Mount Rushmore anymore. There's Hillary, there's Kamala, there's Nancy, and there's old Elizabeth Warren. What would you say is the name of this new landmark? We've had some real doozies coming out of the chute. And no, you do not have to be family friendly. You can just let it leash out. What would you name it? Arloa says this: Laura Carno would not be on that new mountain. She's way above the. Yeah, I said Laura Carno could be anchor for the good conservative women, and that would be good as well. So anyway, name the new landmark. We'd love to have your help on this whole thing. All right, anybody been following this? Well, Sydney Sweeney, I want to talk more about that because it is amazing that Sydney Sweeney, it's really kind of the final exposure of the bat crap craziness of the American left. Here you have a young lady, a very successful young lady. I heard she moved into a $13 million mansion. I couldn't have picked her out of a lineup. I didn't know who Sydney Sweeney was. In the 80s or 70s when Brooke Shields, I knew she nothing comes between me and my Calvins. And as a young man, I'm like, I'd like to prove that. Could you show me? I just thought of a young Jimmy. But Brooke Shields, I knew she had movies. She was in some movie called Blue Lagoon. I was not allowed to watch because I think there might have been a chestal frontal. I didn't get to see Blue Lagoon. But she was in there, right? So Brooke Shields had I knew her acting skills. Sydney Sweeney, I'm not even aware of, but she's become a big deal. And it's a cultural phenomenon, what's going on, because every time I see people out protesting, and somebody's done a couple of man on the streets interviews talking to people, what do you think of the Sydney Sweeney thing? It's always these blue-haired fat chicks that probably would never get a modeling advertisement, not even an Ozempic commercial. I mean, they're getting nothing. These are people that almost just too ugly to be seen outside, and part of it by choices they made of their own fashion and hairstyle. They're the ones that are offended. The average people out there don't seem to be offended at all. They don't seem to be bothered by it, and they're just living their own dreamy life, and they understand that pretty people get to sell products, whether you're a pretty Tom Brady or whether you're a pretty tennis player or a pretty lady. You're probably going to get some kind of endorsement deal if you have a following, a prominent stage, and you're going to get to model some jeans or put some shoes on and get to do that. That's just part of life. But it is interesting that Sydney Sweeney is the one that they are. But it's really kind of exposing. I guess she released something on her social media pages that she works on her own custom cars. She has an old Ford Mustang that she was changing the oil and the spark plugs in or something. She put that out on social media. She also put out social media just to continue to taunt the American left. She put them. She put herself out there at a shooting range, and I have to say she was a pretty good shot. There was a lot of plinking going on the metal plates that she was shooting on. So I think it's interesting that once again, I think you have a situation with Sydney Sweeney. The leftover plays her hand. We're all supposed to be bothered and horrible about how bad it is that this girl must have been talking about racist and Nazi things or something, all because she happens to be a beautiful white woman. And it seems as if, just watch the ones on the Man on the Streets interview that are making the conversations. It is, they ain't purty. They're not purty at all. And this is Amy. This is another one of those funny coffee moments. I want to play this again. This is Amy Klobuchar. Might have been a little bit of help from AI. Might have been a little voice dubbing. But this seems to be exactly, again, if you have sensitive ears, close your ears now. This is Amy Klobuchar talking about why her and her ilk in the American left are very bothered by the Sydney Sweeney advertisement, and it's not because they just hate Sydney Sweeney. It's that these old ugly women in the Democrat Party, they just don't feel equal representation. Again, if you're offended easily, turn it off in 3, 2, 1 when I count down. And again, might have been a little bit of help on the AI or the voice dub over, but I think you get the idea, as this is why Sydney Sweeney has exposed the stupidity of the American left, and hopefully it's one of those last whimpers of the politically correct stupidity of the American left. Coffee warning, and offense warning to 3, 2, 1.
What we're saying is that we want representation, okay? If Republicans are going to have beautiful girls with perfect titties in their ads, we want ads for Democrats too, you know? We want ugly, fat bitches wearing pink wigs and long-ass fake nails being loud and twerking on top of a cop car at a Waffle House because they didn't get extra ketchup, you know? Just because we're the party of ugly people doesn't mean we can't be featured in ads, okay? And I know most of us are too fat to wear jeans or too ugly to go outside, but we want representation.
There you have it. We stole it from TikTok. Don't blame me. If you were offended, I'm telling you, don't be blaming me on that, because we're just sharing the stuff that people need to hear. That's all we're doing. By the way, Instagram's up today. Instagram's working out for us. It just signed on a moment ago. So hello to all the IGers out there, the hipsters out there that are watching their mama's basement, and our Instagrammers. Feel free to follow us there. And Instagram is under my name, JIMMY Lakey. All right, back to the question of the day. We got a guest coming up. Laura Carno's going to jump in here. But our question of the day is, would you name this mountain? And Scott says the answer of the day is Mount Liblunas. Yeah, Looney Libs. It could be. Ladies and gentlemen, what would you name this mountain? What would you name this American landmark of these fine women out there? Scott says these lib women couldn't get laid if they paid. Wow, you guys are harsh on these ladies. There's old Pocahontas. Here's old drunk Nancy. You think Nancy and Nancy and Kamala are in the middle because they can share a bottle of vodka. They don't have to have as many bottles up there. There's old Hillary Rodham Kankles Clinton. She's up there. What would you name this landmark? Feel free to give us your ideas. That is our question of the day. And Linda so far is winning out of the chute, coming out swinging. Linda called it Mount Skankmore. So it's Linda. Don't blame me. That's what Linda said. Help us name the American mountain that you see in front of us. All right, one more quick story. Then we get to Laura Carno, our great guest. There's just been phrase that's been used under the Donald Trump administration's second term that the hunted has become the hunter. And as you know, there was a hell of a lot of hunting on Donald Trump. They did everything going back to 2016. Kamala was in on it. Joe was in on it. Of course, Hillary was a brainstorm. You had the Obama administration. They did everything they can. There's now a grand jury been put together by Pam Bondi to start to see who is going to have charges filed in the Russia collusion gate. You know that Brennan and Clapper are nervous over the weekend. I think it's Brennan and Clapper, and the two of those guys, maybe Comey as well, put out an op-ed piece defending their own honor, knowing that it looks like the long arm of the law may be coming for them and in a grand conspiracy investigation. Well, it also turns out the Office of Special Counsel has now launched an investigation into Jack Smith. Jack Smith was the special counsel that was appointed in 2022 by Joe Biden's Attorney General Merrick Garland, just one day after Trump announced his 2024 bid for the White House. So Merrick Garland, the corrupt son of a gun that he was, thank God he never got on the Supreme Court of the United States. He's a corrupt, law-hating gentleman, Merrick Garland. Well, he appointed Jack Smith back in 2022 as special counsel. Well, no matter who's appointed as a special counsel, there is an ongoing office that is established in the government called the Office of Special Counsel. And the Office of Special Counsel has opened an investigation because Senator Tom Cotton early this week sent a letter alleging that Jack Smith's actions politically harmed Trump during the 2024 election. Listen to this. The Office of Special Counsel has launched a formal investigation into former special counsel Jack Smith. It's the first official legal probe into his conduct. Smith is the Justice Department lawyer who oversaw 2 criminal investigations into Donald Trump during the Biden administration, one into Trump's handling of classified documents, the other as to whether his actions on January the 6th, 2021 were an attempt to overthrow or overturn the 2020 election. Both cases were dismissed. An email, I'll give the key here, the email reveals the hunted has become the hunter. The email now says, okay, you want to play this game? We'll play the game. The Hatch Act unit, which enforces a law restricting government employees from engaging in political activities, has begun reviewing the special counsel for the United States Department. The email was written by we appreciate the special counsel taking a serious look at this. Jack Smith indicted Trump on 37 counts in Miami of 2023 for lawfully storing presidential records at Mar-a-Lago. And so Tom Cotton from Arkansas says Jack Smith's actions were clearly driven to hurt the president. He violated the Hatch statute, and he should be prosecuted accordingly. Everybody stay tuned. It's going to be interesting. Somebody's going to get perp walked here. Someone's going to have to face the consequences of this grand conspiracy. And now it goes as far as Jack Smith. Jack Smith thought, I was appointed here. I can do what I want. And it turns out, no, Jack Smith, you're under investigation, you jackwagon pawn put up there by Merrick Garland. It's going to be interesting to see what this new grand jury that Pam Bondi has ensconced, what they uncover as well. All right, ladies and gentlemen, good to have you here on the program. In just a few moments, right now we're going to talk to Laura Carno. She joins us every week for Carno Tuesday. We were missing her last week because there was a little situation. I was worried. Here they are living out in the middle of nowhere, trying to escape and live off the grid. And they waiting for their house to be built. She's living she lived in the fifth wheel. And last Tuesday morning, she said, I need to take off. We had a big storm come through here. Laura, I wasn't comfortable. You guys living in the middle of a field out there somewhere almost in Kansas. Now, the chickens have come home to roost. I wasn't comfortable with this.
I know. The bottom line, everything's fine. I saw some very kind comments from listeners, so thank you very much. Everything was fine. Everything was surface and easy to deal with, but just a little unnerving. You know, you see things on TV about big storms come through and it attacks the trailers first because they don't weigh that much. And so sitting in the fifth wheel, we were like, okay, so what in 52, 53 miles per hour was the highest it got, but I don't know. Is it 60? Is it 80? What's the mph on winds that flips the thing over? But
at which point are you like in the movie Twister, floating around?
Exactly.
And then we're going to see you out with the news crew, because anytime the trailers go over, it's always great interviews.
Right.
So be Laura. Right. I don't know what happened. It sounded like a freight train. And there's Bill behind you in a white beater and a cigarette.
Yes, if nobody has seen my husband, that's exactly what he wears. Um, yeah, so the porta potty at the construction site flipped, which I don't go near it anyway. But that was, I think, the worst of it. But there was stuff ripped off the outside of the house because it was, the siding is actually going on this week, and there was some minor damage to the trailer and just a few other things that needed to be dealt with. But when it was first light and we went outside and went, uh-oh, we've got some stuff to deal with. Thank you for giving me the day off with pay.
With pay. I did. I was like, okay, I'm glad their trailer didn't blow over or blow around, because you're not the type to have a moo-moo, but if you're going to have a trailer accident interview, you got to have a moo-moo, and you got to go, I heard a freight train coming there, and I don't know. Next thing I know is upside down and the pussycat's on top of me. You got to have the story. Yeah. And you were going to have to rush off in the middle of trauma to go get a moo-moo to wear for the interview. So thank God you didn't have to do that.
Yeah, and I was going to use that accent too, because that sounds really good.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I still got Bill behind you going, yeah, it's bad out there, wasn't it? I don't know.
I'll let him know how you picture him. So.
No, I'm just saying, every time you've ever have a storm and the tornado blows the trailer park, it's usually not PhDs out there doing the testimonies.
Well, we're just us. It's us normal folk in the trailers.
There, ladies and gentlemen, straight from the trailer park, Laura Carno jumps on the program this morning. Yes. All right, you're safe.
Proud of it. Proud of
it. She's wearing it proud. Laura, real quick before we get some real serious topics, if this were a real American landmark, what would you name this thing? If these were the ladies on the landmark there, any names come to mind that could be shared for all America to hear?
Yeah. So as I look at them, the one thing they have in common is they want to boss us around. So I would call it Mount Nanny. Nanny Bossy Budinsky. It'd be a 3-word hyphenated.
Hyphenated word. Yeah.
Yes.
Bossy.
Nanny Bossy Budinsky.
Nancy. I can't even say it. I don't know coffee. Nanny Bossy Budinsky. Laura Carno. Let's go back to the moo-moo discussion.
Yeah, they all just want to scold you.
Yeah,
you're not eating the right thing. You're not wearing the right thing. You're not marrying the right person. Yeah. Blah, blah, blah. Do what I say.
Somebody says this could be Mount Pass My Drink. Yeah, Mount Share Vodka, something like that. All right, Laura, let's dive in here on a couple of topics that you have sent over for suggestions of conversation this morning. First of all, you and I talked, and I think last week, I was going to bring it up with you, but you talked about it the week before that you weren't on last week. Jared Polis, our esteemed governor, wanted the bridge over Colfax, or the bridge over the street. It was a legacy project, and there was an online poll that he conducted, and I was actually surprised. Tens of thousands of people voted, and it was like 90+% of people said, no, don't be wasting money on this project that you call it the centennial or by whatever, some celebration of the anniversary of Colorado, and people shot down Jared Polis's idea, and I haven't gotten your follow-up thoughts on that.
Yeah. So number one, I think people were annoyed with, money being spent on a vanity project. As you and I have discussed, he's going to run for president at some point. And so he wants some legacies out there that he can point to. And so I think people were annoyed first and foremost about, don't spend money on that when we've got bigger problems. But the other thing, Jimmy, is if you have spent any time at all in the Capitol Hill area of Denver, you know what it would be used for. You know that homeless people would be sleeping on it. People would be using drugs. There would be violence. There would be muggings. There would be all kinds of things. Just one more place for that to happen, and people have kind of had enough of that BS in Denver.
Yeah, I'm just glad to see. If you ever want some entertainment, anytime Jared Polis posts something on Facebook, you ought to go read the comments. This guy does not have a lot of adulation. He's won re-election, but people are learning in the state to call him out for what he is, and there's what they're calling him ain't pretty. And I was happy to see that.
Yeah, but another part of why there's all those comments, he seems so not self-aware and not aware of reading the room. So if you look at all of the things going on in Denver, and maybe that's not going on at the Polis mansion in Boulder or wherever he lives, but if you're paying attention to what is going on in Denver, you would know, let's not, put a plan out there for the Jetsons Bridge, because it looked very futuristic and blah, blah. No, like he had no ability to read the room. And that's why so many people are responding on his social media posts like, what is wrong with you? Don't you get the things that we are seeing?
He doesn't. He breathes rarefied air, and he lives in a bubble, and fat rich kid syndrome of not understanding what the average person in Colorado is dealing with, and he's got that.
Yeah.
You sent me a link to an X post or a couple of months ago. It seems like an eternity, but just a few months ago, Donald Trump was having a great time tweaking Canada about becoming the 51st state. And of course, Justin Trudeau was up there saying, we're not going to be the 51st state. A lot of it was just tweaking and gamesmanship and having a little bit of fun. But you sent me a news feed from a certified X feed called Rise of Alberta. And it reads, Alberta's not angry. We're just done. And there's a movement now for Alberta to leave Canada. They're going to become our 51st state.
Yeah. Yeah. Somebody said that maybe Alberta is the Weld County of Canada, but there, I ran across it on X. So if folks want to, I'm pretty sure I retweeted it this morning or re-X'd it. I don't know what you call it these days. But there's a really lovely overview video, like that you would see on a TV commercial. And they're basically saying, if we leave, we can have lower taxes. If we leave, we can have, and they have this whole, I'm going to call it like a list of grievances, like whereas the King of England, blah, 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 in the Declaration of Independence. But they're all the same things that we talk about here, whether it's here in Colorado where I live or across the country. Why Donald Trump got elected is people were really sick of a lot of things that Alberta is saying. We don't like what Canada is doing. We're out. And some of the replies, there were people, put a mock-up of like the United States going up into Canada and scooping up Alberta. Because if we're going to have Canada, let's just have the people who actually want the government to butt out of their lives, the nanny bossy Budinskis, to get out of their lives. So yeah, I thought that was really interesting. That it not super well reported, but it's really worth folks going and looking, because you really look at these folks and go, these are the Weld County, which for folks out of Colorado, that's a very reliably conservative county here in Colorado, a lot of agriculture, a lot of energy production. And that's what Alberta is. So very interesting story. It's now on my radar. I'm going to follow this. It's interesting.
It is interesting, and at least it's not Montreal. They're pretentious. They don't, they speak French and stuff. So they can French. Montreal. They don't have the French thing. Any relation to that is probably a bad thing. All right, Laura Carno's my guest. By the way, if you're listening later in the day, you want to follow her on X or Twitter. It's just her name, Laura Carno. We'll talk about her website later, fastercolorado.org. That's coming up. I realize not all of you watch this live. Thousands of ear holes listen throughout the days on the podcast. So Laura Carno is her name, and just look up that name, Carno, on the X or the Twitter, and you can follow her. All right, Bill Gates. I was talking to somebody about Bill Gates the other day, and Bill Gates is into population control. Bill Gates is really problematic in my estimation when it comes to liberty and freedom. Bill Gates was part of our problems during the COVID crisis in America. You sent me the story. Now Bill Gates not just wants to, he doesn't like cows. You can't trust a man who doesn't like good cows.
Yeah. So first of all, I want to say that for people like Bill Gates and Steve Jobs, that revolutionized our ability to, for example, sit here and talk to one another live and stream it all over the world and all that kind of stuff. We should throw them a parade. They are the industrialists of today, or of a few decades ago. They did amazing things. Now, after they did amazing things, they said, now I'm going to be, Steve Jobs has passed, but Bill Gates is saying, now I'm going to be a philanthropist. And now everybody all of a sudden thinks he has, a halo over his head as a philanthropist. But part of what he's saying is, if we're going to work on the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, we have to get rid of the cows, because they put a lot of stuff in the atmosphere, methane, carbon dioxide. We need to get rid of them. When you made all of your money by giving products, selling products to people who wanted them, and they wanted to exchange their money for these really great products, a computer that could do all kinds of things and make your life easier. You don't then get to say, and now you can't have other products. Like that's just not a thing. And I say to Bill Gates, you first. You give up anything leather in your, like, I'm sure he doesn't have any leather in his house, in his car, on his belt, on his shoes. Get rid of that. No more burgers, no more steaks, no more any of that. No more any kind of like bone broth or anything that's made from cow products, nothing. So Bill Gates, you first. And then if you can persuade the rest of us, that's fine. But I would also like to remind Bill Gates that if we want to take all the carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere or reduce it, we do this thing called breathing. And breathing involves carbon dioxide. And, you said population control. Perhaps that's exactly where he's going. First the cows, and then, the rest of us should stop breathing. And, we can have assisted suicide for, you're having a bad day and all kinds of stuff to reduce the population. So just moral of the story, don't listen to Bill Gates about how to run your life.
His quote on the X is, cows are about 5% of global emissions, and if your goal is to get to zero global emissions, you don't get to skip the cows. And I'm thinking, well, what about, I'm guessing Bill Gates probably is flying private anywhere he goes. Is he going to give that up? Is he going to start flying over there on Frontier Airlines and buying some carbon credits there as well?
Sure. I mean, obviously, then this is part of the you first. You want the commoners, because he's sounding like a king. I'll call us commoners in his mind. If you want us commoners to do something, you first live by example. Be a Mother Teresa. Be a Gandhi. Live off the land. Live off the air you breathe. And maybe I'll consider it if it looks interesting. But this freezer that's right behind my head, full of beef.
Yeah. Well, I'm thinking Bill's trying to distract. There's a word of that Epstein list, and the speculation is his name might have been on that thing, and that's why old Melinda left him. I don't know. I'm just saying that's what I've heard on the streets. I read it one time. I'm not sure. So, Bill, if I were Bill, I'm going to keep my head low and stay out of the line of conversation right now, because Epstein, that's all I can say. That's just what I've heard.
And cows are American. I mean, I live in the country now. There's cows everywhere, and everybody knows a rancher, so we can buy our beef direct and all that stuff. I don't need to listen to anybody. Not my mother, not Nancy Pelosi, not anybody, especially not Bill Gates, on what I should be consuming. So my body, my choice, Bill Gates.
Thank you. I agree. What Laura said. That's what I say, Bill. Immigrant bonds. You sent me a story real quick. We got to hurry, but from the New York Post, that the State Department is mulling a program that could, it's mulling a program that could keep some immigrants here in the country or let them back in. Give us the details.
Yeah, and so it's kind of simple. It's almost like a bail bonds concept. If we expect you to show back up for your court appearance, you got to put some money up. It's that concept. But I like it because there's some skin in the game. It'd be interesting. The devil's always in the details. But we want immigrants here who are going to contribute to our society. We don't want criminals. We don't want people who are going to come to our country and do terrible things and never show up for their immigration hearings and stuff. But if you are a sincere immigrant who wants the American dream, who wants to come here like many of our ancestors did, and assimilate into American society and be the American idea that we all love about America. A bond that guarantees that you're going to show up, you get your money back when you show up, and the good people are going to do it, and the bad people are going to say that's not for me. And we want good immigration.
Yeah, it's in the New York Post. By the way, did you hear the New York Post is going to expand to the West Coast? They have the New York Post.
No.
They're launching now the California Post.
No, I did not hear that.
That will be very interesting because there will be another bit of a different viewpoint in California. New York Post is kind of contrarian to the New York Times in New York City. And now they've announced they're going to do a 5-day-a-week printed drop called the California Post. So hello, Gavin. That's going to be interesting.
Yeah. And yes, I will track that down. And Obnoxious Scott just said hello, Obnoxious Scott. Good to
Well,
hear from you.
he's being
Again.
obnoxious. See what
He's
is happening.
always
He's being
obnoxious.
he says, "Love you, Laura." Hey, by the way, we haven't heard from old Oliver in a while. I don't know where Oliver. Oliver, you out? Hello. Oliver wants to go on that cruise with you.
I mean, who doesn't?
Laura Carno, fastercolorado.org. If folks want to learn more about Faster Colorado, you were doing some Faster training last week. Kind of talk about what that entails, and that's one of the reasons you couldn't be here on Tuesday because of the weather situation, but you couldn't reschedule. You're doing Faster training.
Right.
What does that mean?
Yeah, and Faster Colorado, we help provide training for the many armed security teams out there protecting our school children. Most of what we do is armed staff, so people who have another job in the school, they're a teacher, a janitor, a coach, a bus driver, something like that, and they carry concealed. Our training this past week was a full-time armed security team of retired law enforcement officers who are having a second career protecting our school children. So trained a bunch of those folks. And so if you want to go to fastercolorado.org, you can read up a little bit about our mission, the bios of our team. We've got some very impressive instructors. I am not one of them. I just run the organization and do the fundraising. And so folks can donate to help us expand these policies around the state. And if you have any questions about it, just shoot me a note on the website.
Are watching later in the day, but if you're listening, having to help you a little bit because obviously thousands of ear holes listen to the show every day, but audio only. Fastercolorado.org, fastercolorado.org. And Laura Carno. Laura, it's always a pleasure. I'm glad that you didn't blow away in the in the trailer park. I appreciate you. Stay safe. When's the house going to get done? Did this slow down the house building?
I just, anytime anybody asks, I'm going to say 6 months.
6 months. All right.
I'm just going to keep it rolling 6 months. When it's perfectly done is when it's done.
It's done. Fastercolorado.org. 6 months. Fastercolorado.org. Laura Carno, the esteemed Laura Carno at CARNO. If you don't follow the X or the Twitter, you should follow the X or the Twitter. It's CARNO. And just like that, I took Laura about 5 or 6 minutes longer than what I think she gets paid to do. So we probably extended her time, and we appreciate her flexibility on the program. Ladies and gentlemen, you've heard me talk about our golf tournament coming up Friday, September the 5th. Yesterday, we made a big announcement, and some of you have already taken advantage of it. Producer Chad took me out to a dark, undisclosed location the other day. Actually, he took me out to the Colorado National Golf Club, and he stuck a camera in front of my mouth and said, "Hey, you should tell everybody about our flash sale that we announced yesterday." So, ladies and gentlemen, this is me at Colorado National Golf Club. Roll the tape, producer Chad, and show them what we did. Jimmy with Rivers Promise, and I am again at the Colorado National Golf Club in Erie, Colorado. And have I got a deal for you? You've been thinking about registering for the golf tournament. It's coming up Friday, September 5th. Well, guess what? 1 month out, we're going to do a flash sale. We're going to take about $50 off of registration. That means it's only going to be $200 a person rather than $250. That's $800 for a foursome. It's only going to be going on August the 4th, 5th, and 6th. That's the 1 month out from the golf tournament. You got to take advantage of the flash sale. You go to riverspromise.org, riverspromise.com, and you get yourself registered. It is a flash sale, limited time window. Go today, register, and save yourself some money, and you're still helping out the cause. And I will see you here Friday, September the 5th, flash sale, August 4th, 5th, and 6th. A little bit of savings, a lot of help for the charity, riverspromise.org. Go, sign up. Yeah, riverspromise.org. Go to sign up for the golf tournament. If you're not going to be there, first of all, you're a loser. You should be there. But if you're if you're not going to be there, you can still contribute. There's ways you can do such things. You can sponsor a hole. You could just say, "Hey, I can't be there on golf day, but I want to do this." It's our biggest fundraiser of the year, and doing a flash sale. Even if you're not a good, and I say this and I mean this every year, and then people play and go, "Yeah, you're right." You don't have to be a great golfer here. We've got people that I swear to goodness, we got people drunk by the second hole out there, and there's like 2 people carrying them. They're like not carrying them physically, but carrying their game. Listen, and I say that funny because it's probably true, but this is not a game where you're going to be qualifying for the PGA. It's just a bunch of people that have fun. If you know how to hold a club, if you know how to drive a cart, if you like great food, breakfast and lunch is included in the registration. It's just a great day. You get to meet a lot of folks that maybe you've seen on the show, guests throughout the years. We've got some great sponsors already. Now, we've got one hole of the golf tournament that is called the Hole Heckler's Hole, and it's actually stand-up comedians that are there, and that's sponsored by our good friends Lehman Lewis Financial Group. Josh Lewis, Alicia Lewis are the sponsors of that, and they basically make sure the comedians are there. We get them there, and the comedians will roast you and your foursome, or you can donate to the cause. It all goes to the charity, and as you donate to the cause, you can makes the hecklers shut up. But if you got a friend that you want to really roast, you can do that, and you can give them money. They'll roast your friends. It's a fun time. And Lehman Lewis used to sponsor the beverage cart because we like to have a beverage cart sponsor. By the way, that's open this year. Somebody like to sponsor that beverage cart. We'll still round that one up. But now they're sponsoring the Hole Hecklers because they thought it was such fun. There's a great sponsor. We signed up for the 7th year in a row. Judy Pfeiffer, Remax Momentum is one of our sponsors this year. A lot of hole sponsors, Jay Ratliff, jratliff.com, aviation travel expert. He and daytradefun.com, they're sponsoring 8 or 9 holes. There's just a lot of sponsors that sign up for this thing, and there's ways you can participate. So feel free to jump in, even if you can't be there. If you want to sponsor a hole, put your name, your business out there, give you a shout out here on the program and on the day of the golf tournament. It is a fun time, but the flash sale is going on right now, and that flash sale is happening right now so that you can save about $50 a person, $200 a foursome. It's normally $1,000 for a foursome. It's only $800 through tomorrow, and so get registered. Some people heard about this, and they were waiting until Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. I'll be texting some of my good friends that are somewhat forgetful and mentally unstable, and they sometimes have to be reminded. I'll be texting some friends today. But again, riverspromise.org, riverspromise.com, and I want to see you Friday, September the 5th. If you're not there, you don't love America or Jesus. How about that? If you're not there, it means you don't love America or Jesus. That may be a little bit of a stretch, but I'm thinking I'm going to work that one out and see if that works out. All right, it's great to have you here on the program. Jimmy is my name. I do appreciate it. Come back to, Rich says this about Bill Gates. Come back to that Bill Gates discussion. How much pollution gases are produced from the products Bill Gates has brought to the market? You know, all those plastic computer parts and the casings around the computers, I don't believe those recycle or tear down. They go to the landfills. Bill Gates is part of the problem, right? Bill Gates is part of the problem. Part of the problem at Epstein Island, we hear. I don't know if that's true. I just heard that one time. Bill Gates is a real problematic kind of fella, isn't he? Bill Gates brought a lot of stuff to the market. Probably some of the technology we're using today is built off what Bill Gates and Steve Jobs said. So we have to commend them for that ingenuity. But after the fact, I think they sniffed too many molten plastics making cases for computers, and some have lost their brain. Yeah, lost their brain. All right, good to have you here on the show. I want to get to tomorrow. We're going to get to a couple of more stories on this Jack Smith investigation. I'm going to try to piece it together. I saw my brother Glenn Beck did this as well. There are so many moving parts right now, my friends. Moving parts of what happened with Hillary, what happened when Barry found out, when did Clapper, when did Brennan, when did they all take the story and run with it? And then after Donald Trump was defeated, they said, we can't have him come back. And so then they brought in the kind of, remember the shows, like I remember this growing up, heading up to high school, that was Saved by the Bell. You had the Saved by the Bell, Rich Paul Gosselaar, John Paul, all these actors in Saved by the Bell. And then you came back with Saved by the Bell 2. And just a whole different cast of characters. It didn't work out as much. As some of you that are children of the 80s or 90s, you probably remember that. The Saved by the Bell 2, the new class was not like the old class. I mean, and we're going through with this collusion story back to 2015, 2016, all the way back. And then come about 2022, Hillary's no longer, she's just massaging her feet to get rid of the swelling in her ankles. Barack Obama has been dispatched to the ash heap of history. Comey has been fired. Brennan and everybody's gone. So a new group of people had to step in. And we know some of the names early on: Lisa Page, Peter Strzok. You had Hillary in on it, but Jack Smith is in what I would call Saved by the Bell 2. He's in Russian collusion 2, and he comes in once Comey and Brennan and Clapper are a little bit more shoved to the side. They come in, and Merrick Garland comes in and says, we got to get our boy Jack. So I'm talking, there's 2 generations of this scandal that are now being looked into, and I have to tell you, this is a big story. I talked about this on the show yesterday. Watch this story, study this story, learn this story, be able to know the intricate parts of the study, know the story, know the timeline of the study. We have become so desensitized that we're told what's breaking news all the time. Fox News alert, breaking news. And none of it's really breaking news. It's just a repeat of the same dang stuff that's been going up. This stuff is breaking news. I believe this is probably it looks like it will. It's going to be the greatest political con job in America history. And if you want to hear we always say what Democrats accuse you of doing is exactly what they are doing. And being a threat to democracy is exactly what they did. Started back in 2015 with Kamala Harris, go through Saved by the Bell season 1, season 2, season 3. And then you end up with this Jack Smith that he's just a special prosecutor. He has great esteem. No, he is a political hack, and he could be one of the ones that look good in orange. I don't know. I'm not on the grand jury, but this is a big story. And if the news media that told you that Donald Trump was a Russian agent, if they have not backed off of that, apologized, fired some of their staff, then not only are they complicit in conducting a coup in America, or an attempted coup, but any advertiser that still advertises on CNN, MSNBC, if you're advertising on those stations, you are a company that should also, I believe, be investigated for your participation on the corporate side of participating in a communications coup, ultimately designed to tear down a sitting and duly elected president of the United States, and to make sure that there was no free election. And, you know, here in the state of Colorado, we were the epicenter of trying to kick Donald Trump off the ballot. Everybody involved in that should be held accountable as well. It was a collusion. It was a coup. And you say, well, we don't like Donald Trump. No, Democrats don't like free elections. That's why they haven't had a primary legitimate since about 2012. They chased Bernie's communist ass out of there, bought him a couple of houses so that Hillary could get the nomination. They chased Bernie off again and got old demented Joe Biden out of there because they're afraid of the communist Bernie. And then when Joe Biden crapped his pants too much and crapped on the stage and did all the foolish stuff he did, they, rather than have a primary, they appointed another old battle axe named Kamala Harris to be the nominee. Democrats don't care about free and fair elections. They care about their agenda. That's why Democrats were so willing to, in the state of Colorado and elsewhere, try to remove Donald Trump from ballots. Why? Because Democrats, hear my word, I'm not going to couch this and say, I know some real good Democrats. Where are you? I know some independents that used to be Democrats, but anybody that still has the name Democrat, I'm not going to try to be nice and play nice. You in your party are threats to America. You have tried to destroy and coup a president, and unless you condemn the actions of those people that were your party leaders, this was not the fringe of the Democrat Party. These were the lords and saviors, the holy messiah of the Democrat Party. And so you can no longer say, well, yeah, it's the AOC fringe out there. It's a Jasmine Crockett fringe. No, fringe. You do realize that all the stuff that's being talked about that these Democrats did, it wasn't Jasmine Crockett. It wasn't Bat Crap Crazy Bernie. It wasn't the drunk bartender AOC. It was none of them. These were mainstays in the party that were carrying this out. And so there's no way to say that there's still a moderate wing of the Democrat Party, because the people that they housed up as the traditional Democrats were actually a part of this coup. So it's time to just call the Democrat Party what it is. It's a bunch of people that don't like democracy, and they were absolutely positively willing to take Donald Trump off the ballot in Colorado and other states. They were willing to see him assassinated on a stage and cover up investigations and do dastardly things. They were willing to appoint corrupt people like Merrick Garland did with Jack Smith. They were willing to spread fake stories that they knew were fake. They were willing to not have a primary since 2012. They haven't had one. They've all been rigged since then. Democrats don't care about free and fair elections. What they care about is their agenda. And anybody out there still trying to defend, well, there's the radical wing of the Democrat Party. The whole dang thing is radical at this point. How much more radical do you get? You can blame Jasmine Crockett or Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, but how much more radical do you get than trying to undermine and overthrow a duly elected president of the United States? I beseech you, therefore, brethren and sistren, there is no such thing as a moderate Democrat anymore. There may be some Democrats that were former Democrats, but there's no moderates out there. The party has gone bat crap crazy, and those who are held up as the fathers that seem to be very, they need to take control of their party. AOC's running it. No, these people were trying to overthrow the president of the United States. These people were seditious. These people were treasonous. They're not the moderates in the party, and AOC is not an interloper coming in there being bat crap crazy. They are bat crap crazy, freedom-hating fools. They hate the Jews. They hate America. They hate elections, and that's why they're willing to tell you that Kamala's your girl, and you better straighten up and support her and wear your shirt. You know what? You're just a cult member that probably needs to find help and get out of that cult. It's a very bad party, and I'm telling you, this is a big news story. And just because they're not flashing it all day, for instance, the big story right now is the Texas redistricting. That's a big story. I like it. It's fun to watch. But, man, there ought to be coverage every day about this coup attempt and the radical party that's the Democrats that, again, they want to try to make you think Jasmine and Alexandria and Bernie are the kooks out there, and they're just the elder statesmen. No, they're all crazy. Barack Obama and Michelle Obama, Big Mike, Hillary Rodham, Kankles Clinton, Joe Biden, all of them have fought against freedom. And the deep state is being exposed, and I hope the deep state continues to be exposed, and that should be the news story. So again, just because Fox is telling you or some Newsmax is telling you it's the Texas redistricting story is the shiny object to follow, screw it. The shiny object to follow is that corrupt men like Merrick Garland, Barry Obama, Jack Smith all get exposed. That's the shiny object that should be first and foremost in our mind. And yeah, there can be a couple of opinion pieces here or a news story about this, but the real story, my friend, is the threat to democracy that the Democrats have had and been since about 2015, if not before. And people need to be jailed for this, my opinion. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the stolen memes section of the show. If you're new to the program, we're going to steal some memes and share them with you. But also, before we do the stolen meme section, can I remind you about our great sponsor, been with us since almost day one of this thing, Sherry Cree. Her website is homeswithsherry.com. Homeswithsherry.com. You know what's going to happen? The kids are going to go back to school, and some of you've toyed with buying or toyed with selling, but the kids are going to go back to school, and you're going to have the house, and maybe you want to start strategizing. Maybe you're not ready to sell this fall. You want to get through the holiday season in your home, but maybe it's something that for next year, once hit spring break, the end of the school year, maybe you just want to talk to Sherry about what the markets could be doing. What will the Colorado real estate market do? What areas are going to really flourish? What's burgeoning out there on the horizon that, especially once the interest rates change, what will the market do? How can you be positioned on the cutting edge of buying the right home, selling at the right time? How can you position yourself to be ready when things start to churn and really go great in the economy? How can you capitalize off that? A lot of that is just planning, strategy, and preparation. Sherry will do that with you. Homeswithsherry.com. Homeswithsherry.com. Again, if you're buying, you're selling. Again, you don't have to be ready tomorrow. Maybe you are. Maybe you just need to get out of the move quick. She can help you with that. But have that strategy session with homeswithsherry.com. She is a connector extraordinaire. If you ever read the book about the ninja sales tactics, she implements those in the real estate world. She's just a fantastic lady, a hard worker. I've known her for many, many years, and also just the generosity and the care that she exhibits. I connected her with one of our listeners a couple of weeks ago, and I said, I gave the lady's age and said she needs some help. And she goes, oh, I love helping elderly people. A lot of times elderly people are caretakers or taking care of someone else. And she just had that soft spot. She lit up. That this listener, viewer, was going to be calling her as an elderly person. She thought that was fantastic. Sherry will also take a discount off of her commission so that she can, for military first responder and everybody that she works with, at the end of the day, she'll take a portion of what is supposed to be hers in her pocket that she's earned, and she will put 10% or put a donation. She'll put a part of her commissions. I won't even say 10%. She'll put a part of her commissions over to the charity of your choice. That's what she does. That's just shows the holistic approach they has. It's not just about the real estate. It's about humanity. It's about people, and it's about doing what's right. And Sherry will do that for you. Homeswithsherry.com. Homeswithsherry.com. Sherry Cree, she's playing at the golf tournament on September the 5th. She'll be there, and you can get to say hi to her, meet her. If you're there, homeswithsherry.com, homeswithsherry.com. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to do the stolen memes section of the show because in my hand, I have the globe that we spin as a cheap prop on the show. We would do a fancier prop, but producer Chad and I have decided never raise expectations. We don't want you to think we're too fancy around here because we were pretty much, it's almost a charity case around here. It's what it is. But anyway, stay tuned. It's time for the meme section of the show, stolen memes, and let's do it. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm palming this. I got to put my screen up so I can actually see the memes on the screen. Ladies and gentlemen, round and round the globe we go. Where we steal the memes from, no one knows. Meme number one. Look at there. I want to read this to you. It's from a Instagram feed called Raising Lions, Not Sheep. And it's a really good page to follow. Let me read this to you for those of you listening on the audio portion. The unvaccinated aren't dangerous because they spread disease. They're considered dangerous because they spread critical thinking and resistance, the two things that government fears the most. Bingo, spot on the nose. Not dangerous for the disease. You're spreading critical thinking and resistance, and the government, like Lord Fauci, doesn't like that at all. All right, here we go. Round around the globe we go. Where we steal the memes from, no one knows. Here we go. 80s vintage visions. There's a 1985 phone booth. Anybody remember that? And unfortunately, that is, some people would say that's the 2025 phone booth. Not advised. It's not good. I was reading a story, and I'm not going to share it all today because producer Chad and I laughed in a pre-show. A headline of, I think it's the Atlantic or somebody headline, everyone's got hemorrhoids. And you're like, whoa, hang on. That's a broad statement. And then they're talking about people are spending too much time on their phones, sitting in certain places, and the strain is causing that. Anyway, don't. Put your phone down. Get rid of your phones, especially in the bathroom. It's nasty. Round around the globe we go. Where we steal the memes from, no one knows. CNN, the most trusted name in news. There you see some guys. You have the possibly white guy, the black guy that actually shot up New York and killed people at the NFL headquarters. You have, remember the Maryland man? Oh, you mean the child trafficker? Jimmy, he's just a man from Maryland, a Maryland dad. There's Donald Trump after they tried to blow his head off, and the CNN's like, oh, he just kind of fell on stage, just fell down right on stage. And there's old Joe Biden. They lied to you and said he's sharp as a tack. Again, anybody's watching CNN as any kind of a trusted news source, you are a bona fide idiot. They have betrayed you, and they have betrayed the truth over and over again, going back to Russia, advancing forward to just a couple of weeks ago. This guy's a possible white shooter. I'm sorry, that man looks black in the video to me. They lie to you, CNN. It's a joke, not real journalism at all. Round around the globe we go. Where we steal the memes from, no one knows. Anybody relate to this? And from an Instagram page called Grew Up in the 70s, kids standing in the grocery store. Back then, you didn't act up in public. Your mom would end your career right there on aisle 4. Yep, mama would end your career on aisle 4. And if it started on aisle 4, that's where she ends. If it started on 2, you weren't getting to 4. That was mama's philosophy. I brought you into this world, and I'll take you out. I will kill you until God you died. I've seen some kids at the grocery store and restaurants that need that kind of a career-ending conversation. Some of your children do. Your children are hellions, and it's your fault. Round around the globe we go. Where we steal the memes from, no one knows. Here's another. Just read it and weep, and let it sink into the bottom of your heart. Back in the day, my day, no one cared about being hydrated. Kids today lug around a 40-ounce Stanley Cup like they're on a desert trek. Meanwhile, we survived on a single sip from a germ-infested water fountain between classes, and we called it a day. Anybody remember that? We would play on the Texas heat on the playgrounds in Texas. You're sweating, you're dripping. You've been playing Red Rover. Let Bobby come over, and you're clotheslining kids, and you're kicking. It's wonderful. You could bully with dodgeball, bully with Red Rover. All of these things we could do. All of these things were absolutely positively fantastic, but you got to the water fountain. You had to get to class, And so the teacher or someone would count to 5. Everybody got 5 or 10 seconds of drink, and then you had to get up. And some kids put their mouth right on the water fountain. Some kids were, sometimes you had a high shooter. But anyway, remember that? Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4. Next. And that's how we got water. Now kids walk around like they're exploring desert lands. By the way, my title today, I'm the Cigar Sensei. Maybe true. Here we go. Round around the globe we go. Where we steal the memes from, no one knows. Texas begins construction on northern border wall to keep Democrat lawmakers from returning. There's the border wall from the Babylon Bee. Democrats stay out. Wouldn't America be better if that was the case everywhere? Democrats stay out. Round around the globe we go. Where we steal the memes from, no one knows. Ladies and gentlemen, the silence, the non-moving of the screen, it says we have reached the end of our meme threshold, and therefore we must end the show for the day. Couple of things to remind you. Don't forget our great Sherry Cree, homeswithsherry.com. Great sponsor. Great to have her here as part of the program on a regular basis. And I'm telling you, it would really bless our heart if you would get in touch with Sherry. And we're going to start doing a regular segment with Sherry about once a week, talk about the trends in the market. We're going to start doing that. Probably maybe this week or definitely by next week, we'll start doing a regular segment with Sherry. Let you get to know her a little bit more, but it's homeswithsherry.com. Also, don't forget the flash sale is going on for our internet, on the internet for a golf tournament. If you go to riverspromise.org, try to sign up right now. You'll see limited time flash sale, and you'll see it up there on the registration page, and you can save some money on our golf event. It's Friday, September the 5th, riverspromise.com, riverspromise.org. Register for our golf event Friday, September the 5th. It will probably be one of those fun Fridays, and I speak this from experience, one of those fun Fridays you will probably have. If you can get a group of guys, group of ladies together, whatever, you bring your wife, bring your kids, it's a fun time. It really is a fun event, and I hope that you will be there with us Friday, September the 5th, and there's discounted registration right now. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I mean this from the bottom of my heart. Thanks to everybody who's been a part of the program. It has been a sheer slice of heaven. It's a thrill to know that you're out there listening to the program. Right now, go to your favorite stream or podcast platform, iHeart. Maybe it's Apple Podcasts, maybe it's Spotify. This show that you've just watched for the last 1 hour and 18 minutes is about to go viral, and it's going to go up on the stream platforms, so podcast platforms. Like us, subscribe to us, and whether you're listening live or on the podcast, send us an email, info@jimmylakey.com. info@jimmylakey.com. If you'd like to advertise, we'd love to have you there as well. info@jimmylakey.com. I mean this from the bottom of my heart on behalf of producer Chad and myself. May God bless you. May God bless America. I am Jimmy Lakey. Peace. I'm out of here.